answered. All right, welcome friends. We are going to get rolling here. You are here for Activate's Learning Snapshot series. And this snapshot is on equitable discussions. And so we've had a few other ones before that. If you haven't seen them, hopefully you can get your hands on some of the resources. I know Activate's been sending them out through their blogs. My name is Rebecca Garelli. I am your professional learning specialist for the evening and for the Snapshot seminars. So really honored to be here with you. Let me just turn on captions because I forgot to click that button. Give me a sec. There we go. Okay, if you want captions, you can go ahead and turn them on if you need that service. All right, so I'm just going to ask you to, one, grab the link in the chat and make sure you have it open. I will go over how we're going to use that resource page once we get rolling, but take a minute and just read over our goals for the session. All right, so we are going to talk about how to foster classrooms for equitable conversations and equitable discussion. So here we go. I'll put the link one more time for those of you who just joined this space. And then what I need is just a little bit of informal data. If you're ready and you have it open, just type ready in the chat, give me a thumbs up, some kind of emoji. Just let me know you got it. That way I don't leave anybody behind. And so we'll go over this resource page. For each of these snapshot webinars, we put together this resource page. Everything's at your fingertips, and I'll go over it. I see you all populating. All right, lots of folks ready. So, as always, the link to the slides is right here. So you have access to those. And then as we go through our learning today, I'm going to ask you to open a few of these resources, and I will call them out by number. It'll be very obvious which one. I will make sure you know what you're doing, but along the way, every single resource I use to develop this experience is right here at your fingertips. So save that link, maybe bookmark it, put a little star on it, something so that you have it. And for those who just joined, there's the link to the resource page. And so you're going to see these little number circles on the slides that correlates to the number in the resource page. So it'll be pretty obvious what you need to do. And I am here to support you. So to kick us off, we're going to get into the first part of this webinar, and it's all about how do we actually support equitable sense making. And if you didn't come to the previous session, that one was on student sense making. So if you need a little bit more support on that, make sure to go back to the archive of that webinar. And so let's dive into this first part, and you're just going to do some reading for this first couple piece here. So I'm going to go quiet, and I'm going to ask you to think about what is written on this slide. With both comes from the Framework for K-12 Science Education, which is the contemporary research document the Next Generation Science Standards was developed from. So I'll be quiet. I'm going to invite you to read these quotes from this from these resources. And if you just joined, I'm going to put a link in the chat. You just need to have that open. All right, so these are just some main ideas about the shifts, right? Learning about to figuring out, working on those 3 dimensions, the core ideas, the cross-cutting concepts, the science and engineering practices. But today we are here to talk about chapter 11 from the framework, which is dedicated to equity in science education. So we're going to go down this thread just a little bit here. And I'm going to invite you to read a fabulous quote from this amazing book that if you have not gotten this book, it is literally on my desk at all hours of the day, sitting here for me to read. And it is wonderful and helps you understand each of the science and engineering practices and how to promote equity in your classroom. So I'll be quiet while you read this fabulous quote from this amazing book. And so what we're going to embark on in this journey is how do we provide access and with the goal of scientific literacy for all? What does that look like in the classroom? There's a lot of different features in classrooms that we're going to study today to help us learn how to shift our classrooms to be more accessible for all students to engage in science literacy. And so I'm just going to keep going down this thread to just kind of, get your brains thinking about what we're going to talk about today and these shifts in classroom culture. So again, I'm going to invite you to read the quotes on our screen from both Megan Bang, Renee, and Brian Brown. So come on in and read through these quotes. And again, if you joined a little late, I just put the link for the resource page in there. And so really, if we are supporting equitable sense making and these shifts in instruction, we really have to consider our classroom culture, and that's where we're going to go first. And then once we understand a little bit about the features of classroom culture, we're going to dive into pedagogical moves and instructional strategies on how we build this classroom culture to provide that access and opportunity for all students to engage in scientific literacy. And this all comes down to who do we value, who is valued, and what is valued. So this is what we're going to focus on here in this next piece. So let's, now that you've got a little taste of what we're talking about when we mean equity in the science classroom, let's dive into features of classroom culture that support this style of equitable sense making. And so in a moment, I'm going to ask you to read one of these documents called The Features of Classroom Culture That Support Equitable Sense Making. But as you read it in just a moment, I want you to think about these questions. Who is engaged or who is excluded from the activity? Who is treated as the knower in the classroom? In what ways of knowing are privileged? Meaning, which styles of talk or gesturing or sense making, making thinking visible in writing and drawing, what styles are privileged in the classroom? And do the kids' ideas seem value who might bring some diverse sense making to the class? And what science is practiced in the classroom? So we're going to talk about these in just a moment. And the resource you're going to need to open, come on over to the resource page, is number 2. So it's going to ask you to make a copy. That way you each have your own version and you can take notes if you want to. And I'm just going to make sure I don't leave anyone behind. So please give me a thumbs up or a ready in the chat when you have this document copied. And again, this is number 2. So thank you to those who are thumbs upping. I see a ready in the chat. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. It makes me know you're with me. And again, if you're looking for the link, there it is. I'm in number 2. And so here's where we're going to go. This is the document we're going to be using for this next portion. And what I want you to do is go into what we call the alone zone, that metacognitive time for you to think by yourself without the influence of anybody else. So for 2 minutes, I'm going to set an alone zone timer. I'm going to ask you to read this document and consider what resonates with you and what questions or concerns do you have. And when the 2 minutes is up, we're going to share some ideas in the chat with a waterfall protocol. And I'll explain what that is if you're not familiar. But right now, let's have some alone zone time and read this document.
You're muted.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks. I'm just talking to myself over here. Thanks. So now that you've had time to think alone, we're going to use the waterfall protocol. So I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. And what that means is for 30 seconds, you're going to type away in the chat. And when the timer goes off, you're going to hit enter. That way we can all share each other's ideas at the same time. So again, just think about what stuck with you. And or what questions or concerns do you have about the features? So I'll set 30 seconds, find the chat, come on into the space, try not to hit enter. I know it's challenging. All right, go ahead and hit enter and let's see what you thought about the 4 classroom features. So ways of knowing really stuck out. I love it. Students leading discussions in science is about making sense of the world. That's right, not memorizing facts anymore. Learning is meaningful when it connects to home and school life. You guys go through this amazing waterfall thread. This is amazing. All students bring background experiences that we can learn from. Yes. Student ideas are valued, examined, elevated, and used to fit. Oh, so we're looking at students as resources, these assets that come with them. And we're not having this deficit mindset. Students are coming to us with the ability to think and use their resources to make sense. Oh my gosh, amazing. Student sharing is amazing. It happened today. Wonderful. I wonder if the reason no one speaks up is we're valuing only. What a very reflectful thought. Thank you for that. Oh, amazing thoughts. All right, I'm just going to gently push us forward in our learning together, but thank you. I love Fred. It's amazing. All right, so let's keep going here. So now we're actually going to watch a video. And the context for the video is I chose an Open SciEd lesson from Unit 8.1. So this is from Forces at a Distance, and it's lesson 1. And so I'm just going to read the context. Okay. So during the lesson, they developed that consensus model about what forces cause a speaker to vibrate. So in the anchoring phenomena routine, there's like a picture of a guy in an SUV with the speakers pumping. And there's so much going on in vibrations. And it's just an amazing video. So the speakers are vibrating and they get to think about the dissection of a speaker and then build a speaker. And then they develop this initial model. So what you're going to be seeing in this video we're going to watch is the class discussing where they agree, where they come to consensus, and where they disagree, where they have different ideas. So let's take a moment and think about what we're going to do when we watch this video. And if you just joined us, welcome. While you watch and just grab a little piece of paper, I'm going to give you the transcript. And all we're asking you to look for is, what do you notice the students saying or doing? And then what about the teacher? So if you want to take a minute, jot down a T-chart real quick. And then we are going to open number 3, which is the transcript. Let's just get our resources together. So I'll give you a minute to do this T-chart, and then let's open number 3, which is the transcript. So you'll be able to further identify what's going on in that classroom. So this is number 3. Make sure everyone's got it, number 3. And just take a minute and write down a quick little T-chart, maybe students on one side, teacher on the other. And if you just joined us, welcome. And I'll let everyone just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. Type ready, give me an emoji, something. Oh, forces at a distance. That's right. Okay, yeah. All students, here we go. Just waiting for people. Okay. All right, so now you've got the transcript ready. The transcript is, whoop, that's not it. Here we go. Here's the transcript. This is for Forces at a Distance, lesson 1 from 8.1. And so let's come on back. You've got a T-chart. And then what we're going to do after, I just want to set you up. Step 1, we're going to watch a video. You're going to be taking some notes. You're going to be looking at the transcript, thinking about what are the students saying and doing, what are the teachers saying and doing. Then once we're done, we are going to use a Jamboard, and then we're going to cite specific examples. So I'll give you a preview of what the Jamboard looks like. It's basically this document, and we're just going to add Post-its citing the text evidence, like line 3, and then describe the evidence you saw. And then you save it, and then you put it here. So we'll wait for that until afterwards. I just want to give you a heads up on where we're going next. And so that's why you need the transcript, is because you're going to use specific lines. And the good thing about the transcript are their numbers for the lines. So that way you can say line 6, line 10, etc. So I hope everyone is okay with the instructions. And so let's just get some guidelines for watching videos, because we're going to watch a couple videos today. So reminder, these are real classrooms, which means there are also students who didn't give consent. We all know how this goes as teachers. Here's some ground rules. Teaching in the classrooms we see are very complex. There is much we don't know about the students and the teacher and their history together. So presume expertise on the part of the teacher. Assume what the kids are saying makes sense to them, right? It might be a little unclear on our side, but assume it makes sense on their side. And focus on how the classroom talk, both from the teacher and student side, is serving the learning goal of the lesson and the practices involved. So here we go. We are going to watch this and make sure you've got your notes, teacher and student. What is the teacher saying and doing versus the students? And here we go.
All right, let's put a thumbs up. If you think that the connection, the fields that Maribel and Garvey talking about, if you think that's related to the force that's causing the vibrations, you're going to do a thumbs up. If you think it's probably not related to the force, you're going to do a thumbs down. You can do somewhere in the middle. What are you thinking?
Like this around.
Do you think
What do we mean by force?
What do you mean by the field?
And what do you mean by the fields? We got to see more about that. What do we mean?
I guess like around it, or like a particular spot, space to it.
Yeah.
So
It's around like where it can hit.
Like the middle.
where what can it?
Like the force or
The magnets create the shine, because it couldn't be like right directly on the coil.
Couldn't be directly on the coil because it's not touching.
No.
So maybe there's some space in between. Have you ever noticed a field when dealing with magnets or electricity? Have you ever noticed not quite touching something, but feeling the effect of electricity or magnetism?
When you, I don't know if y'all tried it, but when you flip one and you can't really put them together and you try, you can feel it like slip off.
Give me a thumbs up if you try that. Having magnets and turning one around the other way. You can't push them together.
Yeah, I tried that.
And then you can put them on the table and then just do this and they'll like push away. You don't even have to touch them, you just do it.
And so is that what you guys are talking about when you say the field? So there's something that's going on in the space between that we can't see. And that's what you mean by field. What do you people think now? Yeah, Anthony.
I don't think that, because if that was true, wouldn't it pull away from the coil?
Okay, so you're saying so maybe that's gonna push it the opposite way. So you're saying that you would feel that in the magnets? Say more about what you're saying.
Like, instead of just, so you have the magnet in your hand, the coil, you're putting the coil, wouldn't it push away if it was like what they just said?
What do you guys think?
No.
Would you have felt that in your hands?
So then, why if it's not magnetic, why is it connected?
Why is it what?
If it's not magnetic, then what's the point of saying that east and like there's two sides, the one that connects and the one that doesn't. Why?
Finance raising her hand. What do you think?
I think that like it still has a force. Like when you flip it, it's like a force, but it's like a negative force.
What do you mean?
Like a negative. I don't know. It's like the opposite of like. It's like when you flip it like when it pulls like away, it's like a negative thing.
Okay. So like we're saying like a pushing force.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Joshua?
We have a question. When you said what you said, do you mean like if the coil isn't magnetic, what would the magnet have anything to do with it? Is that what you meant? Yeah, then I agree, because if the coil isn't really magnetic, then the magnet can't do anything but just sit there.
I mean, it does do something. It makes it work.
Speak louder so we can all hear.
I mean, it does do something. It makes it like louder, I guess, or it makes it work. It makes it run.
But the coil, yeah, but you can't. You could say it doesn't. You could say it has something to do with it, but you can't really say it's like the main cause, because we basically just agreed that the coil isn't magnetic, and you can respond to that. And what I'm thinking is that the magnet isn't the main thing that's making the sound. Like the wires are important, but nobody's saying that that's the main thing. Well, it has something to do with it, but not everybody's focused on the magnet. So, like what I'm saying is that the magnet is necessary, but it's not the most important thing.
But I mean, without the magnet, not taking.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is that it's not the main thing that we should focus. Like, it's not the most important piece, but it's still necessary. Like the wires are necessary, but we're not focused on that the way we are the magnet.
Can you guys speak up a little bit? I think you're having a good discussion. I want us to be able to hear. What's your question, Gardy?
So what is the most important thing?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Could be.
I think it is the one.
Because
It could be the coil.
Because without the wire, it's probably the wires.
Let's hear from Mark Kelly. He's had his hand up a little bit.
I feel like that, in my opinion, like everything has like its important role to like the wires brings like the electricity to the iPad or the source or whatever.
Actually, I think I more agree with Markel. I think everything, there's not like one most important thing. I think everything's sort of equal, because without like the coil, the speaker wouldn't work. And without the magnet, the speaker wouldn't work. So everything relies on each other.
I agree, because the wires kind of have to like they attach to the source, and the magnet kind of, without the magnet, can't really hear any sounds, and so that's why I need like everything.
Well, I'll tell you what. It sounds like we've got some good ideas. It sounds like we've got some agreement on certain things. It sounds like we're disagreeing on certain things, and we need to investigate more. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to finish up today with, and then what we'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to get all these questions out. I want to figure out where are our questions, what can we do to answer the questions? So like, what can we investigate?
Okay, come on back. Let me get rid of this real quick. And so what we're going to do next is we are going to go in breakout rooms to talk about what you just noticed. And then for the Jamboard, I'm going to put you in groups of 3 to 4. Hopefully you got my email about going to breakout rooms. I always like to tell people in advance. And so when you get in there, say hello, get comfortable with each other real quick, and then just talk about what evidence did you find, and use the transcript to specifically say online whatever and cite that evidence. So then when we go to the Jamboard, let's get the Jamboard open real quick, and it's in number 5 right here. All we need to do is have one person in our group just come on in, and if we saw this feature, we have some evidence, one person from each group we'll just need to make a sticky and just say, line 3, and then describe what you saw that fit, and then just line the Post-its up. That's all I'm asking you to do, is to just chat and then cite a couple pieces of evidence so that we can all see each other's thinking in one spot. So let me grab the Jamboard, or I'm sorry, not the Jamboard, the breakout rooms real quick. Give me a second. We're going to go for only just about 6 minutes total. And so here we go. And I might have, let's take a look at this real quick. We will go into breakout rooms, creating them. It will manually ask you. I'll give you 5 minutes with a 60-second warning. So I hope you enjoy hanging out with each other just for a little bit, and make sure to put something on the Jamboard. All right, they are open. Go on in. And if you need help, I'm here to help. Sandra or Anitra, may I be of service? Can I help you in some way with your breakout room? Breakout room. Hopefully you had enough time. I know it probably wasn't enough time, but hopefully you had some good conversations.
Goes with number 2. Okay.
All right. So we do have some evidence here if you want to take a look at the Jamboard. And thanks for going into breakout rooms. We do have one more breakout room a little later on, but this is interesting to think about, what we see on here. So just take a minute if you haven't had a chance yet, and just look over the Jamboard and see what kind of evidence folks came up with in their rooms. So we have some line 9, line 29. Students were the knowers. Look at that. Evidence on lines 6 through 26. Yeah, the teacher was not the all-knowing master of the class. That's right. They were asking questions. The teacher used talk moves, like say more about that. Awesome. The students were the knowers. Wonderful. All right, so I'm just going to gently push us forward here to keep going in our learning about equitable discussions. So thank you for engaging in that. And so now we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about teachers' actions to support this style of equitable classroom culture. So I'm going to ask you to dive into your own brain first. Think about your own practice and consider for just 1 minute by yourself, what are those aspects of establishing a safe classroom culture that are most challenging for you and your students? And why do you think those aspects are the most challenging? And so what's coming next is we're not going to share anything. This is just a quiet reflection. So I just wanted you to know this is for you to think by yourselves. If you feel like sharing in the chat, please do. So just think by yourself for a minute. And if you feel like sharing, please do, but you do not have to. So we have some ideas in the chat, but I'm just going to gently push us forward, like really thinking about how we really establish those safe classrooms and thinking about the challenging aspects for not only teachers, but also students. And so now we're going to watch what's called a video montage. And this montage, and thanks to those who are sharing in the chat, I appreciate you. Yeah, kids focused on getting a grade and getting it done. That's right. So again, we're here to consider shifts in our practice. So what we're going to watch is this montage, and the montage has different clips along the way from different classrooms, or different snippets. And so as you go, you're going to watch a little bit. It's going to pause for like 30 seconds and then go on. So during those pauses, there will be time for you to take notes. So I'm just going to get us going here. So as we watch, again, here's the lens I want you to use. What is the teacher doing to try to support and build this kind of equitable classroom culture? Because we know it can be challenging, as many of you are saying in the chat right now. Then once you've watched the video and taken notes, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, we will go back into breakout rooms and consider those teachers' actions. And then think about how that might apply to your classroom. So here is what we're going to use for this one. If you go in number 6 in here, you're going to see this where it does have some notes on the side for you to take. So it'll be broken up by different clips. So clip 1, you can take notes. It'll give you 30 seconds after each of the 5 clips to write down notes. So let's go grab number 6 right now. So here it is, the note catcher. Again, you're going to make a copy. And once you've got it ready, please just give me a thumbs up or something. You've got the doc ready, because you're going to want it when you go into breakout rooms. And thanks to those giving me feedback. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. I see a lot of you. Thanks for the thumbs up in the camera. I appreciate you. Okay. I think you kind of get a feel for how we're using these resources. So here we go. It's going to be 5 clips in the montage. It literally will show you on the video, like, now you have 30 seconds to take notes. So just be prepared for that. And then really, let's remember when we go to breakout rooms after this, how are the teacher's actions? Think of what the teacher is doing, and how what the teachers are doing is important to build this style of classroom culture. And then consider how it might apply to your classroom. So here we go. I just explained what we're doing. Time to watch.
One of the reasons we're sitting facing each other is because everyone's ideas are important here. All right, and you guys are noticing I'm not really giving you much information in this unit. Is that correct? Yes. So here's what I'm asking us to do now. I'm asking us to be listening to what other people are saying and be ready to respond to it. The first thing we're going to have people do today is present their models, their individual models that they were working on the last couple days. I've got a couple that I've selected, and I'm going to be projecting up here, and they're going to be sharing it. So you can read on the board the first bullet point. So I'm going to read this out loud. I will go for it.
Listen as your classmates share their models. Are their models similar to yours or different from yours?
So as you're going to be sharing them, I really want you to think about what's similar and how they put there, and what do they put that was different. You ready? You saw any?
No.
If you have it written down, read it.
I mean, I do. I just don't like it.
Why not?
Because,
Read it first. Let me see at least. Fabio.
I'm good.
Fabio, read off here as well. Read. Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
What is the copper's job on the speaker? What does he do?
I think that, what is the what's part? What's job? the copper. So we're talking about the copper that actually makes up the wire. Does that have a job? I think that's a really important question. It's made out of copper, right? We noticed it was the same material on both speakers, right? Maybe there's something to that. Why do you think it's copper, by the way? Anyone have any? Does it have to be copper? I don't know. Like maybe we should test something like that, right? Okay, put that up there. All right, you had that in mind. No one else had a question like that. So when you have something that no one else has, that's not something to be embarrassed about. Markel, that's something that like might push us in the right direction, right? So be proud of that. All right, so I want to remind us, you want to grab a stool? Or a table? I want to remind you guys of some of our expectations here. When we're doing this, we got to make sure we're respectful and listening to one another's ideas. We have some amazing ideas. Josh, you want to grab a stool at the table? First time we did this, I remember Markel had a question. I think I brought this up once or twice since. Remember? That you didn't want to share with us at all. Going into that copper about that copper coil, right? And it turns out like investing in that copper coil was really important, wasn't it? So sometimes the best questions come from ideas that people maybe don't think are that you want to share them. So I'm going to encourage you, if you've got an idea, especially if it's different, to be sharing it with us. All right? Because sometimes those lead to the most learning. All right? I'm going to remind you of some moves we have up here. If you're getting stuck, if you say, I've got an idea, or what if we tried this? I've got, here, if you're confused about someone else's idea, or you want to ask them something about their idea, or ask them about how to prove that. Do we have evidence from one of our investigations, etc.? Okay? How is that force getting to that magnet? How is that force getting to that magnet?
I guess like the power, I don't know. Like they're strong. That's just like making them react. Because when the coil was like we said, the coil wasn't even that strong, so that's why it didn't react as much. Those magnets react really more than the coil. When it was connected to the battery, which made it magnet. Which made it a magnet.
I'll just talk with your group, because I want to hear some other people's voices. But so far, this isn't class ideas, this is Garvey's ideas. And I don't want to just be labeled Garvey's ideas. So I want to get some other people's ideas up here. Talk with your group and discuss what you think is going on with them, okay?
All right, and then the last clip is coming, and then we'll share in breakout rooms.
How can I write this up here? What should I say? Literally, the second I come over here, we start again. We're having more restraining. How should I write this up? Stop. Let's write down some expectations. A new page in your notebook. We're gonna copy down some expectations a couple times because I don't think you guys are getting it. So we get to copy down expectations from scratch again. Turn a new page in a notebook. What are some expectations we have for group discussion? Well, what do you think we need the most work? What do you think is the hardest for us right now?
Ask questions, listen, and participate
Listen to others and
more.
eye contact.
Yeah, I really think, I mean, like, if you do these three, that's the basic part, right? And then that follows that you're gonna start participating. But this one right here, I'm not gonna write in Sharpie. This one right here, that's hard. It's not easy. And that's why a couple people are zoning out right now, because they're like, oh, I don't know, what if I ask the wrong question? What if I say something that's not perfectly right? But there have been all sorts of ideas that we've put out there that are incorrect, and that's okay, because we're learning, right?
All right. This is the final clip. So just finish up your notes. And then, oops. We're actually going to go in for just 4 minutes instead of 5 and just share some ideas and think of like, what did the teacher do and how might that apply to your own classroom? So I'm going to take away 1 minute. We'll do 3 minutes plus a 60-second warning. You're going to go back in the same groups and just share some ideas. All right, the rooms are open. Go on in.